Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media.
Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to a new place, sort of. We've been to Russia many times, but this time we are not going to the Far East, but to Central Asia and a part of Russia just north of Mongolia. The Ergaki Park is billed as the Yosemite Park of Russia and features some amazing scenery and very remote access to nature. It stretches for 343,000 hectares, which roughly translates into just below 850,000 acres. It lies in the South Krasnoyarsk Krai, Russia, if you want to know the governmental district. If you enjoy being alone in the woods, it is the kind of place you can definitely do that, but you may not be as alone as you like. Ergaki Park is mostly below 4,000 feet in elevation, but certain peaks nearby stand at just under 7,000 feet high. As you can see by the map, the area is almost completely uninterrupted by roads, as the mountains and dense forests stretch for hundreds of miles in every direction. Isolated stands of Siberian Pine and Larch, Spruce and birch trees provide a disorganized backdrop for the sedges, grasses, and willows. Moose, red deer, wild boar, and roe deer forage along the hills and stunning peaks like this one. If you look closely at it, it resembles a giant tooth, like the canine of a brown bear. On July 27, 2021, Yevgeny Starkov and a few of his friends were visiting the park for a camping adventure. They had their backpacks loaded up with tents, sleeping bags, food, and clothing. It isn't clear why, but no one in the camping party had a firearm of any kind, nor did any of them bring along bear spray. Only an hour prior, they had just arrived at their campsite and had begun to set up their tents and relax. Most of the campers had taken off their shoes and were relaxing around the fire. They were talking about the day's adventure and the rigors of the park. They'd seen many sights and covered a lot of ground. The clean, crisp air was refreshing, even after such a laborious and strenuous day. As the campers relaxed, a noise drew their attention. The vegetation was sparse in places where they were, and any animals near them would be easily visible. As they looked down the trail, they could see a huge, dark shape slowly approaching them. It looked as if it was following their scent, and clearly knew they were there. As it got closer, they could see it was a giant brown bear. Now, this area has an abundance of wildlife, as we've previously listed. Along with the animals it would normally eat, any brown bear would also have fish and the broad assortment of berries, roots, and bugs to forage on. I could find no source indicating a shortage of any of these food sources in their habitat this year, and it is assumed that there wasn't one. The campers immediately began yelling in a vain attempt to drive the bear off, but it continued to lumber closer to them. It stared at them and didn't show any fear of the noise or the fact that they were people. They could see the bear was drooling as it looked them over while slowly creeping toward them. The campers decided that the bear may be interested in the contents of their backpacks, so they began to scramble up a steep rock face just uphill from where they pitched their camp. The bear was only a few yards behind them and was following them up the cliff. It was clearly not interested in the food they had brought, or maybe it was interested in some other food. As the campers climbed and scrambled, Yevgeny began to lag behind. He was 42. Maybe it was the stress of the incident, exhaustion from the day's hiking, or his fitness. But either way, he lagged behind the group. He got so far behind the group that the bear began to focus on him. It followed closely behind the man, only a few yards from him, as it drooled and stared at him. Yevgeny became so terrified that he started to panic when he realized the bear was intent on killing him. From their perch on the cliff above their friend, the campers watched as the bear tackled Yevgeny and ferociously attacked him. They watched as the bear bit and clawed the screaming man. The bear would bite and shake its head violently time and time again until Yevgeny stopped moving. The attack lasted only a few minutes, but the worst was yet to come. The campers were helpless to stop the attack or come to their friend's aid. They watched for several minutes as the bear bit chunks of their friend's body off and swallowed them right before their eyes. They were barefoot and had nothing but the shirts on their backs. All of their equipment was down the cliff and on the other side of the bear. As soon as it had killed Yevgeny and eaten a small portion of his body, the bear cast its gaze and drooling mouth toward the campers still hiding on the cliff. It began to amble toward the cliff again, as if it was considering climbing after another human victim. They decided they couldn't wait for the bear to come pick them off one by one. The body of their friend would only hold its attention for so long, and they knew they had to take this time to escape. They climbed their way further up the cliff and crested the top together. They knew the bear was downhill, so they continued uphill, deciding on a circuitous route that would bring them back to the trail they came in on. They navigated the cold, stony ground without their shoes, coats, or protective equipment. For 7 hours they walked aimlessly, hoping to find someone to bring help for Yevgeny, or at least help them recover their friend's body. After trekking across many a mile of rugged terrain, they reported their friend's brown bear attack to park authorities. They immediately closed the park and announced the incident to the public. They had to make sure no other park visitors were killed by this bear, as it clearly had a human menu in mind. Hunters from the Ministry of Ecology, as well as Ergaki Park administration, set out to locate the bear. They found the bear was feeding on Yevgeny and dispatched it with a single shot from a high-powered rifle. An investigation into the bear attack and subsequent death of Yevgeny Starkov was initiated. The authorities wanted to know why this bear began stalking people and why there had been such a sharp uptick in bear attacks in and around the park recently. Speculation began to swirl among inquiring minds. Many postulated that the longer winters recently experienced in the area and limited brown bear access to food resources. Recent winters had been colder, and the snow stayed much longer than in previous years, possibly contributing to a lack of food for them. In this particular brown bear attack, there were no reports of cubs anywhere near the bear, so it likely was not protecting any. Of course, it may have been a sow bear who was barren due to malnourishment, but there was no necropsy report that stated that. The campers hadn't surprised the bear, as it had clearly walked right toward them and into their camp. They hadn't ran in panic, stimulating the predatory instincts of the bear. The campers didn't indicate that they had seen any bear sign in the area. No bear scat or tracks. Yevgeny's fatal bear attack had all the hallmarks of a strictly predatory attack, and it was as simple as that. This was not the only bear attack reported in the year 2021, unfortunately, in the park. A young man was killed by a predatory brown bear a short time prior to Yevgeny, but that will be discussed in our next episode. Russia has approximately 120,000 of the 200,000 brown bears in the world. In Russia, from 1932 to 2017, at least 338 cases of people being injured or attacked by brown bears occurred. Note that does not include polar bears or Asiatic black bears. That comes out to almost 4 deaths or injuries to people each year in Russia by brown bears. That sounds like a lot of people, but given the area of the nation and it holding the highest number of brown bears in the world, it is actually quite low. The Russian government has done an excellent job of maintaining their wild places and letting the wildlife there thrive until they affect the human life there. After reviewing the facts surrounding this case, I have a few questions for you. Do you think the bear was initially drawn to the scent of the food the campers were carrying, or was it simply hunting the people? Why do you think the bear was drooling? Would it have killed more of the campers if they hadn't fled? Would bear spray or a firearm have changed the outcome of this attack? I'll be glad to read and respond to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.